Thanks, Wayne. Good afternoon, everyone. Can everybody hear me okay? Am I too loud or too quiet? It seems to be okay. If you see me staggering around up here, I have not stopped by Rhett's and sit on his porch and had a toddy this morning, I promise. But, I give everybody a free safety lesson. 2 weeks ago today, almost 2 weeks ago the hour, saw a little sunshine, got on the tractor, went out bush hogging, and I got to where I was going. I noticed one side of the bush hog was dragging, so I throttled the tractor down, knocked it out of gear, and went around and was adjusting the leveling arm. Of course, I didn't turn off the PTO and spinning around. Yeah, great idea, huh? And so just for, I've been fooling with tractors a long time, and just for one moment, I took my mind off what I was doing, and I got my foot a little bit too close to the PTO shaft, and it grabbed my foot, jerked me under there quicker than you can say anything, and all I can say is I'm really lucky because I got away with a sprained ankle and a loss of a good patch of skin and one destroyed shoe, but I'll take that over what could have been the alternative. So always good to be careful and not let your attention wander too much. But I really want to talk today. I guess really my talk is more, instead of the history of hunting, kind of lessons learned over 30 plus years of dealing with hunting clubs, and hopefully there'll be something that will pique your interest or get you to ask questions or think about it. I know quite a few folks here because I know some of you lease your land to hunting clubs, or you're in hunting clubs, or both. When I'm talking today about a hunting lease, really you can use the word, and in the presentation I'm using the word license and lease interchangeably. Resource Management Service uses a license, and a license really from a legal standpoint is a better instrument for hunting clubs than a lease, because really a license is considered a privilege. And a lease conveys something with it. A license really is given permission. It can be revoked at will. It gives you a lot greater assurance from a liability standpoint if you have a problem with a hunting club. But I am going to use the word interchangeably today, and most of us, even those of us in RMS, call it a hunting lease, even though we use a license. A little bit of history on hunting leases. I can date some clubs back to the 1800s when a group of folks would get together and have what they called an outing club. And some of the first ones were in the Adirondack Mountains in New York, the Poconos in Pennsylvania, and the south along the Mississippi River where some of the first clubs came up. The oldest one I personally know about is Ozark Island on the Mississippi River, chartered in 1892 as a hunting club. And it's still in existence today. So, that one's been around 125 plus years now. But the earliest leases, in many cases, were handshake agreements. I started out with Anderson Tully in Mississippi. And Anderson Tully's earliest agreement, somebody would come up to John Tully and say, I'd like to hunt this section of land, or I'd like to hunt this section of land between such and such roads. And they would shake hands and perhaps sign a piece of paper, and that was the agreement. In the 20s and 30s, some of the Midwestern clubs started seeing outing clubs, hunting clubs being formed, and they actually put into law tax advantages for landowners to keep their land open to the public, and that exists today. For example, in Wisconsin or Michigan, you can lease your land to a hunting club and you can pay $25 an acre in taxes, or you can have it open to the public and pay $3 an acre in taxes. And there's quite a difference there. So there's a great legal incentive to keep land open in some states. One of the first legal cases involving a hunting club was in Mississippi. Marigold Hunting Club actually went all the way to the Mississippi Supreme Court, who upheld that as a hunting club, they had the right to patrol and post their property and prosecute trespass. And so that really gave hunting clubs legal standing to be units that could control a piece of property. In the 60s, 70s, and 80s, many of the large southern forest owners, the international papers, the Georgia Pacifics, the Westervelts, and others began leasing their land to hunting clubs. It became more than a handshake agreement. It was often 50 cents a dollar, a couple of dollars an acre, but it was a legal agreement, and it was kind of the start of hunting clubs. In the late 1970s, International Paper really began to look at hunting clubs as a business, and they actually set up a business model around hunting clubs, and to my knowledge, that's the first group that did that. And in the 80s, demand for really good hunting property just accelerated, lease and accelerated pricing, and kind of brought us to where we are today. In 1989, Clemson University did a survey of hunting clubs across the South. The top 3 reasons for leasing land on that survey: access control, protection of property, public relations. It was seen as a good thing in the community to lease land to local folks. And income ranked 3rd. It was not one of the top 2. A survey done a couple of years ago, income or increasing the value of the land ranked number 1. Protection of the property was number 2, and then community relations fell out as number 3. But really it has become a business. It has become a good source of income for landowners, and it's kind of the model we're in today. If you're a landowner, why should you lease your land? Well, a source of income, better control of the property. A good hunting club can actually make your property more valuable, and I know that's kind of contrary to think about, particularly if you're a hunting club. You know, you're there, you do a good job, you raise the value of the land, the landowner sells it, reaps the benefit that you as the club have put into it over the years. But studies have shown that well-managed property, a good hunting club in place, can raise the value of the land. Hunting clubs offer the opportunity to improve wildlife management on the property. Quality deer management programs, prescribed burning programs, small game programs, turkey hunting, whatnot. You've got a group of people there, you can kind of control what's going on. You can manage, if you get clubs around you into a cooperative or an association, you can really do some good things across a big piece of property. A lot of advantages. The disadvantages for a landowner: you got to deal with the hunting clubs. And you know, over the years, I've tried to figure out if dealing with loggers or dealing with hunting clubs could be a tougher challenge. I think it's hunting clubs. So you know, hunting clubs always have problems and need you to help them solve them. The administration of hunting clubs, if you deal with more than one, can take some time up. And then you do have liability and legal exposure. From a hunting club perspective, why would you want to be in a club? Well, safety, believe it or not, comes out as one of the first reasons in every survey, every opinion poll taken. You know who's on the property, you have a good idea where they're hunting. It just seems to be you feel safer than hunting on public land. Tradition and camaraderie. I'm in a hunting club that we started in 1983. I can't imagine not hunting in that club. It's a good group of 12 of us that know each other. Our kids have grown up together. We have a lot of fun, a lot of tradition, and I can't imagine being away from that. And a lot of folks at hunting clubs can relate very well. Better managed property. We have a quality deer management program. We have limits on the type bucks we shoot from a beam length, and inside spread restriction unless it's a child's first deer, and they can take any legal deer they want to. But we think that it allows the property to be better managed. And I think the hunting experience is better. The disadvantages if you're a hunting club: the cost. Lease rates have gone up. I think they've started to flatten out across the South now, but they have gone up quite a bit. As lease rates go up and members drop out, you have turnover, and that can create dissension within the club. And the greatest disadvantage is if you don't own the land, it can always be sold. And that's just a reality of life, and I've seen it more times than I want to, but that's probably the greatest disadvantage for a hunting club if you don't own the land that your club's in. A couple of words about pricing. There are 2 pricing models. One is market pricing, and basically that's where you bid it off. You get the highest return you can. In Mississippi, every 16th section belongs to the state, and those 16 sections are leased every 3 to 5 years for hunting. The money generated goes to the schools. It's done on a bid process. It basically sets market value in every county in Mississippi, and it's strictly a bid process. Fair market is where you take into account, well, you've got a good group of folks in place, they're taking care of the land. Okay, here's the value I could get, but I'm willing to trade some of that off for care and protection. So that's kind of the other system. The advantages of market value, or market pricing, gives you the greatest return. The disadvantages, if a club feels like they're on the land only because they've been the high bidder, they don't have a lot of incentive to protect it. They may try to kill whatever they can. They may try to get whatever they can from the land over a 3 to 5 year period. Say, well, we'll probably lose it, so who cares what happens next year? So you get potential for a lot of abuse from that system. The club really can't make improvements under market value. You know, they're stressed to pay the lease. So putting in food plots, putting in amenities, helping the landowner with things, keeping the roads up, that's an extra cost they probably can't absorb. Fair market pricing, you can build a better relationship with the club. You can work with the club to have the club invest in property, to do improvements on the property, to take care of it. The club feels like they're going to have it year after year. They're more willing to make that investment. And that really offsets a loss of revenue to the landowner. What are some factors in setting prices? Landowners always ask, you know, how much is my land worth for hunting? Well, certainly the market. There are areas in Alabama, the Black Prairie, along the Alabama River, I mean, you could name other places that just have a tremendous market for hunting. You know, if you've got land there, you're in the sweet spot from a hunting club standpoint. If you've got deer, turkey, hogs, fish, waterfowl, small game, the more of those you have on the property, the more diverse the property is, typically the higher value you can command. The quality of the habitat, percentage of hardwood you have, percentage of land in streamside management zones, age class of the timber, how the timber's managed. Are there food plots in place? Are you as a landowner willing to allow the club to put in food plots? All of these can contribute to how to price a hunting lease. Access, do you have good all-weather access? Every time it rains, do you have to take a four-wheel drive and tractor and get in and out? You know, access is very important in pricing a lease. Availability of electricity, the road system on the property. Does it have permanent water? Does it have food plots? Amenities can play a big role in pricing as well. And I think the other thing is know your customer. You know, it's always good to lease to your neighbors because they're close, they can take care of the property, but sometimes that's just not the way it works out. Do you have a piece of property that somebody's willing to pay a little bit more and they live in Birmingham or Tuscaloosa, and you know, obviously they don't have any place to hunt close to home, but it's within an hour, they're willing to pay a little bit more to be able to access that land? Do they want to help improve the property? You know, when you interview a potential club, do you get the sense that they want to be a partner with you and help improve the land, or they're just there to hunt and go home? So all of those can really play a role in determining the value of the lease. Just a couple of words about an agreement. I do advise anybody that deals with a hunting club to have a lease agreement, even if it's a very simple document. Something that says where the land is, has a map of the land so everybody's clear what you're talking about. How much it's going to cost the club a year, what you as landowner are willing to do, what you expect from the club. Have a clause that requires liability insurance, and I'll talk a little bit more about that in a minute. And have a clause that states how the agreement can be amended, renewed, terminated. And I do encourage every hunting club member to have a copy of the license, because every hunting club member, it doesn't need to be something just the president has or just the person you deal with has. Everybody needs to know what it is, because if a club member doesn't take good care of your property, it causes the club to lose the license. They don't need to say, well, I didn't know I couldn't do that. That doesn't need to be the excuse. And the other thing I would say is in this day of lawyers being more and more important, is have the agreement reviewed by an attorney. Again, even if it's a one-page, basically handshake agreement with a few terms outlined, always good to have that protection. Should you do an annual agreement or a multi-year agreement? Well, the annual agreement lets you respond to changes in markets on a more regular basis, gives you a little bit more control over the property. But oftentimes with a multi-year agreement, the club's willing to pay a little bit more to have that certainty. So a 3-year agreement, a 5-year agreement oftentimes willing to pay a little more on the front end to know they're going to be there for 3 or 5 years. It gives a real sense of stability and a real sense of partnership with the landowner. Liability insurance. Ben talked this morning about outdoor underwriters and some of the insurance vehicles they offer. I will say that we use outdoor underwriters and we think they're the best in the business. I'll give them an unpaid plug. They really know the liability business. Ed Wilson, has been referenced, started that business. But while hunting is amongst the safest of all activities, I do encourage you to make sure the club has liability insurance and that the landowner is named as an also insured. And that agreement, the lease agreement, can specify what you as a landowner want that club to have from a liability standpoint, $1 million per occurrence, etc. Looking down the road, what are some of the things that perhaps are coming or maybe out there for the future of hunting leases? I think that hunting clubs are going to continue to place a premium on the experience. So the more you can do as a landowner to create an atmosphere that creates a quality experience for the club members and for their families, I think that's going to pay dividends. I think hunters are going to be looking for more than just a place to go shoot something. It's going to be a place they can go enjoy the overall experience of getting out. Prime hunting lands, again, Alabama River is a great example. Top quality lands are going to maintain a premium in the market, and I don't see that changing anytime soon. I do see across the South on average properties, prices starting to flatten out quite a bit, and I think we've kind of seen the peak of rapid rise, and we're going to see more of a flattening out of prices. I do see landowners looking for ways to get value from non-consumptive uses. Becky talked about some things earlier, but horseback riding, birding, camping, some non-traditional hunting and fishing opportunities are a way to perhaps increase revenue. And one thing I see that's very positive, there's a major effort to recruit youth into hunting clubs. Get the children involved, get the kids and grandkids involved, recruit that next generation of hunters. And I see clubs making a big effort to do this, and I think it's very positive. RMS is pushing the idea of a recreational license as opposed to a hunting license, and just trying to use the property year-round, come out and hike, come out and bird watch, come out and ride the ATV and patrol the property, do it in a responsible manner. And bring the family. Let this be something the family can be involved in. And that does get better use of the property year-round. It gets folks on the property year-round, and hopefully helps justify and offset some of the prices being paid. And finally, just a few things that perhaps we've seen over the years. It really pays to get a good group of folks in place and work to keep that group of folks in place on the property. I think long-term, that's probably the best lesson I could pass along. Another thing I've seen is the more a club pays, the more they expect. So if you increase lease rates, expect the club's going to ask you for more. And that's kind of a trend we've seen. I think fair market pricing does pay you the greatest dividends in the long run. It may not put the most cash in the bank, but it will get the better care of the property and protect the value long term, and I think that more than offsets the loss of direct revenue.
As opposed to bidding.
As opposed to bidding, yes sir, exactly. And I do think it's important to require a standard of behavior from the hunting clubs. If you've got a club in place that your neighbor is always calling and complaining about trespass, always calling and saying, well, kids from the club are riding across my property, complaining, whether they're throwing beer cans out as they go across my property to get to your property, that's just unacceptable this day and time. And I guess the final lesson I pass along is expect a standard of behavior from the club, and if they don't live up to it, find someone that will, because there are good clubs out there. But I think the hunting club business, hunting clubs are a great way for landowners to have their property protected, to get some revenue from the property. From a club perspective, it's an opportunity to really build a tradition and enjoy hunting with your friends and family on a piece of property that, while it may not be yours, you come to think of it as yours. And with that, I'd be glad to entertain any questions. I appreciate it.